Alright, welcome back to IMS Work Holding Solutions. We are using the Titan 1M from Titan's Academy. I am going to be going over today how to rough the part out with a adaptive clearing in Fusion. I'm going to do the outside, this little cut in, and also this pattern in the center right here. So on our other two earlier videos, we did the setup and we did the facing of the part. This one is going to be all about the adaptive clearing. So we're going to get started by selecting adaptive clearing. Now obviously a 3-inch face mill isn't going to clear this part, so we're going to need to select a tool. I'm going to use a 3/8 end mill that I had in here from earlier. Now once you've got your tool selected, if you've got all your feeds and speeds programmed in correctly, it's going to work just fine. These are defaults for what I'm doing here. So now we're going to go to geometry. A couple things that we need to select. We need to select what we actually want to do. So I'm going to start by selecting the outside of the part. I'm going to select this little pocket. Then I'm also going to select the inside of our part. Now this is all the geometry that I want to do. So at this point I want to go to passes. Optimum load for what we're doing in the horsepower machine that we have. It's a very low horsepower machine. So I'm going to change my optimum load to 35 thousandths. 0.035. Type that in correctly. Something else that I'm also going to do is come in here and change my stock to leave. On our machines, I like to leave 10 thousandths on both the stock, radial, and the axial. I always turn smoothing on, and I make smoothing 1/1000ths. We found that just works the best on our machines for whatever reason. Feed optimization, we don't use this a lot. There are a lot of companies that do use this. We just, for what we do, we just don't find a useful means for it. I'm not saying it isn't useful, I'm just saying for what we do, it's not usually needed. Last thing I'm going to do is go to linking. Now this is where we decide what we want our tool to do in physical space. So right here, instead of full retract, I'm going to do minimum retract. That will keep the tool from pulling up as much. So when it makes this pass, it won't pull up, reposition every single time. It'll look for a faster way and go around the part. The other thing that I would like to change while I'm in here is the ramp type. I do want a helix, but instead of 2 degrees for the end mill that I have, it's recommended at 1.5 degrees. Now you don't actually have to type in degree right here. It's self-explanatory. It's looking at that data. There is going to be no pre-hole. There is no entry position needed. So all that is fine. The last thing I would like to change, and I always change this last, you think I would change it while I'm up here, but the stay down level, instead of least, I want 90%. I always work with 90% in most because I don't want my machine to keep pulling up every time it needs to do something. So after it makes a pass, I want it to pull out. So after it makes this pass, I want it to pull out and come back. I don't want it to pull out, pick up, move over, come back down every single time. So now that all that is selected, we are actually done, and we just click OK. Now it does take a second for adaptive to render on most computers. On mine it's pretty quick. So there's all of our adaptive toolpath, and this is what I'm talking about right here. So as it's making these toolpaths, it's staying down. You see very little up movement unless it's going to a new position. If I change that to least and click OK, it'll probably want to pick up every single time. It actually did, and I'm actually surprised. Usually it does. But just as a safeguard, we always use that at 90% or most. Now, something you need to keep in mind is this is a roughing pass. This isn't the finishing pass. We still have 10 thousandths on everything to leave. So at this point, we need to do a cleanup pass. Now, for the material that we're going to be cutting with and the tool that we have, Using the same tool for adaptive as we do for our finish is completely fine. We do that by going up here to 2D contour. We're going to select our bottom and this part. Now, I'm not going to select the inside because I need to do a pocket cleanup because I need to be able to get the whole floor. So at this point, there's really nothing I need to change because there's very little material on the bottom. There's no roughing required. There's no nothing. So generally, what I will do is select them two positions and click OK. And you'll notice everything will clean up just fine. Then I'll come in here to 2D pocket, and I'll do the same thing in the pocket. There again, there's nothing to change except that helix. We're actually going to change that. If you do get this helix to pop up, it's picking it up from contour or from the first adaptive. So we'll go to linking. We'll change this from helix to plunge, and then we will click OK. It's going to plunge straight down with no problem. It is going to give you this warning. A lot of times cannot plunge outside of stock. It's fine. It doesn't realize the stock's not there. You think it would, but it just doesn't realize that the stock's not there. So at this point, when we simulate our part, we'll turn the stock on. We'll get our face mill that comes across. Once we have that, then we'll start our roughing passes. So it's going to eat away until all of the material is gone, leaving that 10 thousandths all the way around. And then it's going to do the outside profile, clean up, and then be done. Don't believe it cleaned up that inside, so let's see what's going on there. Unless it just happens to be the same color. Nope. Stock to leave, click that off, and click OK. There again, I did that kind of fast. Let me go back over that again. Under passes, we have stock to leave. You want to make sure you turn that off on your pocket, and then click OK. Now when we simulate everything, we will get the color from change to blue to whatever random color it comes up. I used to know the color code. I forgot at this point. Purple, that would be the next color line. So I have learned a thing or two that if you are seeing phantom lines like right here, most of the time Fusion is seeing that something didn't clean up. So we would actually test this in the machine. You see the same thing here and here, but they go away. So we would test this in the machine on the first one to see if that's enough clearance, because when you leave 10 thousandths and then you're putting a thousandth worth of smoothing in there, the machine's got technically 2 thousandths to play with. It's got a thousandths per side of smoothing to play with in the radial arc. So you can run into situations on small enough arcs, and these are actually fairly small arcs. You can run into the situation on a small arc to where it is actually not cleaning up the corner on the finish pass because the adaptive has went too deep. So we would actually test this to make sure we're not leaving a big finish pass and to make sure that it actually is cleaning up in the machine. The next video will include the holes, so please like and subscribe, and that video will be posted soon.